Hello. Today I'm going to read from Luke chapter 8, and I'm reading from the Message Bible, and I have my amplified Bible as well. Got that handy. So I'm going to read. Let's see. This is 40 through 42. And the subtitle on this is His Touch. His Touch. On his return, Jesus was welcomed by a crowd. They were all there expecting him. A man came up, Jairus by name. He was president of the meeting place. He fell at Jesus' feet and begged him to come to his home because his 12-year-old daughter, his only child, was dying. Jesus went with him, making his way through the pushing, jostling crowd. In the crowd that day, there was a woman who for 12 years had been afflicted with hemorrhages. She had spent every penny she had on doctors, but not one had been able to help her. She slipped in from behind and touched the edge of Jesus' robe. At that very moment, her hemorrhaging stopped. Jesus said, "Who touched me?" When no one stepped forward, Peter said, "But Master, we've got crowds of people on our hands. Dozens have touched you." Jesus insisted, "Someone touched me. I felt power discharging from me." When the woman realized that she couldn't remain hidden, she knelt trembling before him. In front of all the people, she blurted out her story, why she touched him, and how at that same moment she was healed. Jesus said, "Daughter, you took a risk trusting me, and now you're healed and whole. Live well. Be blessed." While he was still talking, someone from the leader's house came up and told him, "Your daughter died." No need now to bother the teacher. Jesus overheard and said, "Don't be upset. Just trust me, and everything will be all right." Going into the house, he wouldn't let anyone enter with him except Peter, John, James, and the child's parents. Everyone was crying and carrying on over her. Jesus said, "Don't cry. She didn't die. She's sleeping." They laughed at him. They knew she was dead. Then Jesus, gripping her hand, called, "My dear child, get up." She was up in an instant, up and breathing again. He told them to give her something to eat. Her parents were ecstatic, but Jesus warned them to keep quiet. Don't tell a soul what happened in this room. Can you imagine keeping a secret like that? You've got to tell someone. So there were people there. They were expecting Jesus. There was a crowd there. They were expecting to see Jesus, to welcome him. They had heard about the things that he had done, I'm sure, and they were expecting him. However, there were people there, like the people that I read about in this in this chapter, who were more than expecting. They were expecting everything. They came there without a plan B. All their expectations were in Jesus. And so while there was a crowd there, these people had more than just ordinary expectations. They had all their expectations in Jesus. He was their only hope. Their only hope. And the hemorrhaging woman, I'm not going to focus in on that right now for this study. I just want to really focus on expectations. Later, when Jairus is told not to bother Jesus because his daughter had already died, Jesus simply says, trust me. Don't cry, he says. Don't cry. He tells them not to cry. She's sleeping. Those who were around him laughed. They laughed at him because they knew she was dead. So when Jairus is told the news about his daughter, he say, don't bother Jesus. Don't bother him anymore. I thought about the blind man on the side of the road, when he was crying out for Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me, help me. When he was crying out for Jesus, and also he was told, to shut up, not to bother Jesus. We need to be like this woman and like this man, Jairus, to place all our expectations in Jesus and not have a plan B. Well, if Jesus doesn't come through, I guess I'll do this or that. No. Have all your expectations in Jesus. Expect from him. And you know what? They are told not to bother Jesus. The Bible clearly says that God does not sleep or slumber, that he cares about us. He does not grow weary when we ask the same thing. Sometimes I'm praying about something and, maybe I haven't seen it come to pass the way I think it should be or whatever, but God has his way. And I think, God, you must be tired of hearing me pray about the same thing. But you know what? He never gets tired. He wants us to come to him. He wants us to expect. He wants us to bother him. That's the problem today. No one wants to bother God. They don't want to expect anything from him. Are you expecting Jesus to show up in your life, in your everyday life? We need to have all our expectations in him. This woman, she had no other hope. She had spent all of her money on physicians who couldn't do anything for her. And even though other people in the crowd were, close to Jesus, maybe, sort of jostling in the crowd, maybe touching him, sort of, because of the crowd, how many people, she touched Jesus in faith. She had tremendous faith and tremendous hope and expectation in Jesus. He alone was her hope, her expectation. And it was so powerful, it was so strong that Jesus, he actually felt it. And there's a lot of people, his disciples said, there's a lot of people around you. How do we know who touched you? But Jesus knew. He knew who had touched him. It's not that he didn't know this woman. But you know what? It was important. I think it was important for her story, not just to be healed physically, because of her hemorrhaging, she would have been isolated. She would have been shunned. She wouldn't have been able to go to the temple to pray. She would have been treated like an outcast. And so I think Jesus he created this opportunity for her to tell her story, and also to tell about how Jesus had healed her, for the others to hear. So don't create a plan B. You're not bothering God. You know what? Bother him, but you're not bothering him. When I say bother him, I mean ask. Keep on. You want to say that same prayer over and over again. Keep on, because it's a demonstration of your faith. God answers our prayers, maybe not in the way that we always expect, and in the best way. His way is the best way. He knows what's best. And so keep, we have to sometimes, like this woman, crawl. She had no strength, no energy. She actually crawled through the crowd to touch the hem of his garment, the edge of his garment. So whatever it takes, just think of this woman, the tremendous faith. And also Jairus. He didn't say, well, it's too late, forget it, don't come to my house. No, he just went with Jesus. That's my beagle. Okay, let's have a great day.